Yo, this is Teresa Weatherspoon, better known as Teaspoon, and you're watching Real Fans, Real Talk.
Live from the can. Vibe the can.
This is Real Fans, Real Talk. Real fans, real talk. We as real as you thought. Real fans.
What's going on? Welcome to another live edition of Real Fans, Real Talk. Come on, y'all get to see our faces back to back days. That's only on special occasions we give y'all that extra access to us like that. We love y'all, but we be needing our breaks too. But it is championship weekend still. You know, this is the Monday after, so it's still championship weekend. Two big games went down. We're gonna break all that down. We're gonna talk about the All-Star starters because those have been announced in the NBA. But before we get into all of that, let me introduce my co-host, my brother, Eric Sanchez, aka Legend in Two Games. What's going on, man?
My fault. I was on mute. What's really good, bro? Man, what a day yesterday of football. I'm so happy we got the opportunity to pregame and give our predictions of what we thought was going to happen, and then seeing those games, man. Wow. Yeah, let's get to it, man, because there's so much to get into.
First and foremost, let me just say this. Y'all got to keep up with us, even when we do the pop-up lives, because when we do it like this, you know, generally myself and Eric, we get it right. And once again, we got it right. For everybody that was rocking out with us last night, and I posted the clips for everybody that missed it on IG, where both of us picked the Chiefs and the Eagles to return to the Super Bowl and have their little rematch. But let's start with the Eagles, man. Philadelphia, Washington. I thought the game would be a little closer than that, but the Eagles, you know, that offense they went off. Led by the person who we felt would lead the way, Saquon Barkley. Would you say he was going? You said 102 touchdowns, didn't you, Eric? I could have sworn you said that.
That was my prediction. Yep, that was definitely my prediction.
So it definitely got live. I think it was the combined like 78 points, something like that. 75 points combined because the Eagles had 55. Points. Yeah, 78 points combined. Can't say I'm surprised. Because again, we did pick the Eagles to win this game. I didn't see them shutting down Saquon or even containing Saquon Barkley in this game. And then turnovers. Turnovers cost the Lions. Turnovers cost the Bills. Turnovers cost the Ravens. Turnovers will get your ass sent home in the playoffs if you are not prepared. And that's what we saw this weekend from Washington, and in Philadelphia was damn near flawless. But talk to me, Eric. What was your take on the game?
First and foremost, I want to shout out family. I just got a text from my little sister, my nephew. They paying attention right now. So shout out to my nephew Dougie out in Colorado. I know he watching. And he was rooting for the Eagles yesterday too, so I know he's happy.
Okay.
But let's start there with the Commanders and the Eagles. First of all, we saw a difference in talent. The discrepancy was very large. You saw the Eagles set the tone right away. And it was one of the things I talked about yesterday, where the Eagles could set the tone because they were so much better in the trenches. You saw their O-line creating holes for Saquon right away. You saw their D-line getting pressure on Jaden Daniels without having to blitz. And that was the biggest difference from last week against Detroit to this week against Philadelphia. Last week, Detroit continued to zero blitz and allow Jaden Daniels to pick them apart with one-on-one matchups on the outside. This week, Vic Fangio, a veteran defensive coordinator, said, nah, we're going to make the young man beat us from the pocket. He's going to have to throw into some coverages. He's going to have to beat some tight coverages. And guess what? Their receivers outside of Terry McLaurin, those aren't guys who can really win those type of matchups. That's why you saw yesterday the only explosive play in the passing game they had was the slant to Terry McLaurin that he takes to the house. Other than that, it was a real struggle for the Commanders to move the ball. With that being said, the turnovers were the biggest factor of the game, because even when the Commanders start to get themselves back into the game, they get the big fumble by Austin Eckler. When they're down 11 and they have an opportunity to get it within a one-score game, you fumble, and then the Eagles never look back from there. And prior to that, we talked about the Commanders. If they were going to have a shot, they had to start off quick. They had to get themselves in this game early. Saquon breaks the run on the very first offensive play to go up 7-3, right? Then what do the Commanders do? They fumble on their next possession, and now you're down 14-3 before you've had two possessions in this game, before you even could get yourself going. And there was no way you were going to win that game under those circumstances. The Eagles had too much talent all the way around. Jalen Hurts might have been the one question mark. I talked about it yesterday. I thought the Commanders had an advantage only at the quarterback position and at the coaching position. Jalen Hurts eliminated that yesterday because I thought he played better than Jaden Daniels. So if you're going to play better at every area, every aspect, every position, there's no way you're going to win. And that's how you end up giving up 55 points in a conference championship.
Yeah, I don't know. Defense was like non-existent, and then you know when you continue to turn the football over and shoot yourself in the foot because now you're giving up shorter position. You really making your defense's job a lot harder than it needs to be. I, I gotta tip my hat to the Eagles, man. They impressed me at every aspect, and we went through, the running game. We knew what Saquon was going to do. The Eagles' passing game, though, has been hit or miss. It was hit yesterday, and it kept hitting. AJ Brown, he's one of the best receivers in football. He showed it again. This weekend as well. Jalen Hurts was incredible. Even though, let me say this though, because Saquon finished with 3 touchdowns, right?
Mm-hmm.
Realistically, Saquon should have about 6 touchdowns in that game.
Oh yeah, I mean the goal line tush push. Saquon gets you down there, and then they give Jalen Hurts the opportunity. But yeah, I mean Saquon easily had an opportunity not only for more touchdowns, more yards. I mean he only had 15 carries yesterday for 118 yards. So
yeah, didn't need it.
Right, he pretty much didn't play in the fourth quarter. I think from the 10-minute mark on in the fourth, he didn't play. And they let Shipley, and then Shipley breaks off a big run. If that had been Saquon, Saquon takes that to the house too.
Shipley came in, I thought it was Saquon.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So Saquon could have easily, the excellence of Saquon Barkley is on display throughout the season. And I think one of the things that nobody's really talking about is we know he came up just short of the rushing record in the regular season because he sat out that last game. But with his playoff performances now, with the game against the Rams, with this one against the Commanders, with the game against Green Bay, he's on the cusp of 2,500 rushing yards on the season now. I think he's only like 70 yards short of 2,500 for the season combining playoffs, which has never been done as well. So that's a record that maybe people may not talk about because it combines the regular season and postseason. But even still, that speaks to the excellence that Saquon has displayed this year, where he's just dominated. And we talked about it. I was so happy that he set the tone because he was the guy that we kept highlighting. We kept saying, if he carries them, if he's the reason they get to the Super Bowl, we got to look at his season and his career completely different because there aren't very, very many running backs who can say, I carried my team to the Super Bowl. Saquon can say that.
Yeah, and as a Giants fan, I got to say, we gave y'all the keys to carry y'all asses to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
This is disgusting, man. But with Saquon, you got to give him respect, man, because he's not worried about individual accolades. He wants to get a Super Bowl ring, and I don't blame him because and he showed us time and time again. Anytime there's a chance where he could have broke the single game record for rushing yards, he said, "No, the young boys have it." You know what I'm saying? Like he is focused on staying healthy because he understands I've had a bit of an injury history. I want to be healthy. We got a legitimate shot here, and now we're here. And by the fourth quarter, they was already in the Super Bowl. But so he didn't even have to play the fourth quarter, which is something that's really going to benefit the Eagles in 2 weeks at the Super Bowl because you'll have a fresh Saquon who's healthy. This is probably the healthiest he's ever been in his career. And he is all about winning and doing what's best for the team. And that's what he continues to do. He makes everything easy for the Philadelphia Eagles because I don't think he's had a down game this season. Every game, you know what I mean? He's beasting through every team they played. Now, I don't know how that's gonna hold up when you get that Mahomes magic, but we're gonna talk about that in a second.
Yeah, man.
Okay. Before we switch over and talk about that Bills game, where does Washington go from here? How do they rebound from this loss and try to get over the hump next year? Because now we know they're one of those teams that can do it.
Well, I don't think that's the approach they should take in terms of getting over the hump next year. I think this year they quote unquote overshot their mark. They were a team that even in my preseason prediction, I thought they could win anywhere from 6 to 8 games. Obviously, I didn't think they could win 12 regular season games. No one did. Vegas has set their over under at 6.5 wins. So they have exceeded the expectations, and Jaden Daniels is the truth. He is the franchise, and they have a clear direction with him and with Dan Quinn as their head coach. But I think what they need to focus on is continuing to build out this roster. Because like I mentioned, when you look at the discrepancy in talent yesterday, you could see that that's not a roster that should be in a conference championship game. And no disrespect to Commanders fans, but had the Commanders found a way to win yesterday, that clearly would have been one of the worst rosters to make a Super Bowl when you consider there isn't elite talent. There aren't Pro Bowlers on that defense. There aren't really Pro Bowlers on that offense aside from Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin. They don't have much of a running game. They don't have an O-line. So they have a lot of holes to fill on that roster. They're potentially a playoff team next year. But I also want to remind people, this was a season that if the 49ers stay healthy, the 49ers are probably a playoff team. If the Cowboys stay healthy, the Cowboys on paper were better than the Commanders. And we felt that way to start the season. That's not no knock against the Commanders. It is what it is.
No.
So next year, you would anticipate those two teams being healthy and being in the mix again. So the Commanders may not be a 12-win team. They're probably going to be closer to about a 9, maybe 10-win team. They got to develop their O-line. They got to get Jaden Daniels a running game, I think, because we saw yesterday the difference between a team like the Commanders who want their quarterback to do everything as opposed to a team like the Eagles who could just bully you with their offensive line. So those are the two areas, if I'm the Commanders, I want to go after. And then the third most pressing need they need is a pass rusher. They need somebody who can get to the quarterback without blitzing. They need somebody who can be a game changer on that defensive line or outside linebacker, depending on how they want to play it, that can get to the quarterback that then will make things easier for their secondary. Because as you mentioned yesterday, the Eagle passing game, which has struggled for weeks, came alive against that secondary. Marshawn Lattimore was their big pickup during the trade deadline. Lattimore was getting cooked yesterday by A.J. Brown. So you need a pass rusher who can make it easier for your secondary.
And I think with Lattimore, as great of a career I think he's had, because he's been one of the top guys. I just his past is prime. I mean, he's definitely was an upgrade for what they had because they didn't have much of anything in that secondary. But he's not a difference maker when he's the number one guy on your defense or in your secondary. He can be a difference maker when if you got like maybe the Ravens secondary and you add him, or the Eagles secondary and you add him, then he could be a difference maker. But if he's the number one guy, he's past that point in his career where he's going to be able to carry that secondary. So much love to Marshawn Lattimore because he had a great career, great run with the Saints. He's definitely been a top cornerback in this league, but Father Time, it happens to everyone. I see the comments coming in. Let me just put up Tyson's comment because he got NFL. Shout out to Kyrie. I see you up there. We're gonna talk Jimmy Butler when we get to the NFL segment, but we gotta go over this championship weekend first. AFC. It's getting the debate is getting closer and closer. It's getting closer and closer, man. First of all, let me say this: just Patrick Mahomes leading the Kansas City Chiefs to a third straight Super Bowl adds to the GOAT argument. Just him being there. He didn't even win it yet. He didn't even play the game yet. But just him being there adds and closes that gap. And again, it's as crazy as this is, you talk about somebody that's only been in the league for 7 years, the gap is close between him and Tom Brady. I'm sorry, I said it. It's out there. I said it. But the gap is not far between those two right now. When you look at what Tom Brady accomplished at this point in his career and what Patrick Mahomes is accomplished at this point in his career, statistically, Patrick Mahomes is clear ahead of him in everything. Okay, Super Bowls. Okay, we talking about 4. He'd be ahead of Tom Brady in that category as ready if he wins the Super Bowl. But I digress because we've been talking about Patrick Mahomes. We've been talking to people about Patrick Mahomes. But so let's go back. Let's break this game down. Where did Buffalo go wrong? And Don't outside of the fact that Patrick Mahomes is on the other side. He don't say he stepped on the field against the Chiefs.
Well, Buffalo went wrong because I thought they got too cute in this game. There are two key possessions that I think Buffalo, when they look back at, they're gonna be mad at themselves because they had an opportunity not only to win this game, they could have won this game in regulation. I know a lot of people are going to talk about the last possession for them, Dalton Kincaid. That's a tough catch on that fourth down. He's coming back, diving for the ball. Even if he catches the ball, he's close to the first down because remember his momentum is pulling him towards Josh Allen. So it's very possible that he catches the ball and then lands on the wrong side of the first down marker and they don't get the first down anyway. But 21-10, end of the first half, the Bills drive down the field, they score. Instead of taking the extra point to make it 21-17, they try to go for two. They don't get the two. They're down 21-16. They come out in the second half. They get a stop against Kansas City. They go down the field and score again. They try it again. 2-point doesn't work. So now they're up 22-21, as opposed to if they had just taken the extra points, being up 24-21, right? Now, they lose a game by 3 points. People will say, well, they still needed to get a drive. Yeah, but Spagnuolo has to play the defense differently if a field goal can beat you in that situation, as opposed to just tying the game. That's why you saw Spags get so aggressive on that possession, because he understands at the very least, I give up a field goal. All right, cool. You just tying the game and we get the ball back to Mahomes with just under 2 minutes ago. But if you can beat me, I've got to play this possession completely different, because now field goal changes the trajectory of the rest of this game and how we play out these last 2.5 minutes. So Buffalo got too cute there. Also, on the final drive, James Cook was having a big day in this game. You look, over 100 yards on 16 carries. James Cook does not touch the ball one time in the final 6 plays of this game. James Cook, outside of Josh Allen, is your second best offensive player. He's got to be more involved in that situation. Buffalo had opportunities, I thought, but in typical heavyweight championship fashion, and I texted you, I said this, from the start, this game had the feel of a high-profile boxing match where you felt the intensity, you felt the anxiety, like something's got to give. Well, in those type of situations, Trip, we've seen enough boxing. We know what's got to happen. You have to beat the champion. You got to knock the champion out. You can't just leave it up to, well, maybe something happened. Well, maybe we got to make a play here. Buffalo needed to make plays to put this game away and win. Ultimately, Spagnuolo's defense made the plays they needed to make. Patrick Mahomes, as he always does, played mistake-free football. Aside from that one fumble on the RPO early in the game, the Chiefs were mistake-free all game, and that's why the Chiefs are heading to their 3rd straight Super Bowl. Also, you talked about the Tom Brady debate. Patrick Mahomes is in the neighborhood. He's in the cul-de-sac now, Trip. He's riding around. He blasting his music. He's upsetting the neighbors. You know what I'm saying?
He's looking for property?
Yeah, he's looking for property. He's in the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? And he's looking at the blueprints. How far can I get into this guy's yard over here? Because I want to put a new pool in the back. He's in the neighborhood now. And for historical reference, I know you and I have said this for years already, even before the back-to-back and now potential back-to-back-to-back. But we felt that Mahomes, talent-wise, was already better than Brady at this point in his career. Brady was not this good at 29 years old, 7 years into the league. You can look at the numbers. You can look at the film. Brady was not this good. There have been, Trip, 5 instances of teams that have been able to get to their championship game 5 times within 6 years, right? We're talking the 4 major sports: baseball, football, basketball, hockey. It's happened twice in hockey. It's happened twice in basketball. It's only happened one time in baseball. Your beloved Yankees did it in the 90s, where they got to 5 World Series in 6 years. Now it is happening for the first time in the NFL. So Patrick Mahomes just getting to the Super Bowl has already made history that nobody else can ever say they've done, getting to 5 Super Bowls in 6 years. If he wins the three-peat, he now does something else that nobody has ever done. I saw the graphic CBS put up yesterday before the game. In most people's eyes, they already feel he has surpassed Joe Montana as the 2nd greatest quarterback of all time. So that's why I say he's in the neighborhood. He's looking at property, and it might be the biggest house in the neighborhood. So I think Patrick Mahomes and them boys, they're going to set history. We're not going to get into the predictions, but I just think with the numbers he's put up, with what he's been able to accomplish as a team, when 2 years ago everybody said, oh, he lost to Tyreek Hill, we're going to learn if Patrick Mahomes is that good. Guess what? He's better than we thought. Yesterday, they won a game, Trip, where their best offensive player, Travis Kelce, had 2 catches for 19 yards.
Against a very good team.
their top running back yesterday was Kareem Hunt, who barely ran for 40 yards. So how is Mahomes winning these games? He's getting other people involved. He's scrambling when he needs to scramble. He's looking like the Mahomes from a couple years ago that would run for it. He did it yesterday again a couple of times on 4th down. He scored a rushing touchdown. Mahomes does it all. The debate, it's a very real debate. And in 2 weeks, if the Chiefs win that game and we're sitting here on Monday, at 29 years old, Patrick Mahomes might be sitting at the number 1 spot of the Mount Rushmore.
Listen, and I want to say this because when I watched that game, there were a few moments, a couple of different plays where I looked at Buffalo and I said, they don't look like they're ready for the moment. And every play, when I watched Kansas City play, and I'm talking about both sides of the football, I'm not talking about just offense. Every play, I felt like they were relaxed. They had been there before. They wasn't worried about that little regular season L. They didn't care about that because that had nothing to do with them. That had nothing to do with that team that played on Sunday. That's how when I watched the Kansas City Chiefs play, that's what I saw from them. And even though this was a very close game that pretty much came down to the wire, from start to finish, Kansas City looked relaxed. Like, yeah, we here. It's us. You know you're playing us again, right? That's how the mentality they went to that game. Like, you know you're playing us right now, right? This ain't what you did last week, the week before that. This ain't the regular season. This ain't none of that. This is us now in the playoffs, and in the second biggest moment that you're gonna have in the playoffs. This is us, and that's how the Chiefs were from start to finish. They did what they had to do, man. They took care. They took care of business. Nothing was different from what we thought was going to happen. Kansas City was coming to play football. They'd come to do what they do every week. This is why they're a dynasty. Win or lose in 2 weeks, the Kansas City Chiefs are a dynasty. Win or lose, because we don't even get 3-peats in football. So win or lose, the Kansas City Chiefs are a dynasty, and they showed it last night. Just when you talk about the Tyreek Hill being gone, usually guys regress a little bit when you lose a number one, and I'm not just the number one. We talking about, because at the time Tyreek Hill may have been the best wide receiver in football at the time, but he wasn't lower than third. If you ain't have him at first when he was with the Chiefs, he damn sure wasn't lower than third. To lose that, and I don't got a number one receiver. Oh well. I don't think I got a number 2 receiver. I got a couple of guys that could be the number 3 receivers on this team, but I'm gonna make it happen with them. I got a really good running back at Pacheco, who missed a lot of time this season. So we still kind of easing him back into everything that we're doing. We're bringing back Kareem Hunt for his second stint with the team. It doesn't matter who you put out there with Patrick Mahomes. He is just going to win because he is that good.
Yeah,
and it's not even close. MVP, whoever gets the MVP season, you can have that.
You ain't done Patrick that. Mahomes. He already did that, right? He already did that.
You're not me. You're not. He's him. Patrick Mahomes is him. I don't care what receiver you put out there, what running back you put out there. Now, I will say this. I do care about what O-line you put out there.
Of course.
Because we have seen that O-line. Of course.
No, but that's listen, that goes for any quarterback.
Yeah.
Because, when the Giants upset the Patriots that year, you saw what the Giants did to that O-line, where they beat up that O-line and got to Brady. So that's going to make a difference. And obviously, that's the only game in Patrick Mahomes' playoff career that we could point to and be like, yeah, they got dominated. Any other game, Patrick Mahomes after yesterday, Trip is 21-3, bro. I think he's already in the top 5 all-time wins in the playoffs. And he's not even 30 years old yet. His 3 losses in the playoffs. We talked about that Super Bowl where their O-line was decimated. They were missing 3 starters going into that game against Tampa. But the other 2 losses were an overtime loss to the Bengals in the AFC Championship game and an overtime loss to the Patriots in the AFC Championship game. And that Patriots one, right? That's the D Ford game where D Ford jumps off sides and the Chiefs get the interception that would have sealed the game. And instead, the Patriots get another chance and they go to overtime and they win. So Patrick Mahomes plays his best in these moments. And that's why you and I created the rule. You never bet against Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like the Chiefs to win, just don't bet that game. Sit that one out. Don't do it. But Patrick Mahomes continues to amaze me as a fan of the sport. And not just him, like you talk about Tyreek Hill leaving. When I look at the way that these young guys have developed, Trent McDuffie was a rookie corner 2 years ago. Trent McDuffie, all he's ever done is play in Super Bowls. He doesn't know anything else, Trip, as an NFL player. You look at Karlaftis, the defensive end, right? You look at Nick Bolton. You look at Isaiah Pacheco. These are guys that were drafted after Tyreek Hill left, and they've come into a culture where it's like all we do is play for Super Bowls. And that's why these young guys execute in these moments, because this is all they've known. And as you said, on the flip side, you get teams who get a little nervous. You get coaches who look across at Mahomes and they wonder how much time is too much time. Did we execute well enough to beat them here? And the Chiefs go about their business and say, look, as long as there's something left on the clock, we're going to win this game. Patrick Mahomes proved that 2 years ago when they were down with 13 seconds left and he gets down the field to get him the field goal to go to overtime. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You could be winning. It could be a minute left. It could be 10 seconds left. If Mahomes is on the field, you know you have a chance to win. And that's what makes him and the Chiefs so special.
Yeah. And again, this defense, because I don't even as much, because we always give, Patrick Mahomes his respect. We pay homage to him. This defense, they were good 2 years ago when a lot of these guys were rookies. They were good then. They've only gotten better. And they've played more football than anybody else because they've gone the farthest than anybody else these past couple of seasons. This is a different team. This is finally, and it's crazy that I'm about to say this, this is an elite offensive and defensive team without a number one or maybe even a legitimate number two wide receiver. But this is still an elite offense because as long as you got an O-line that can protect Patrick Mahomes, it don't matter. It doesn't matter what you do. And outside of that Super Bowl loss to the Buccaneers, I don't even know if Mahomes has even had a bad game in the playoffs.
That's what I'm saying. That's the only one you could point to and be like, all right,
He's
they didn't
had
play
losses,
well there. Right.
But as far as him playing bad and they lose, the only time you can say that is that Super Bowl. And again, that's with him not having three starters on the offensive line, but two of which just got injured right before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, in the conference championship game.
So, you know what I mean? So when we tell you don't bet against that man, just don't bet against that man. Now, I know there's going to be some Eagles fans that's going to be betting against that man in 2 weeks. All I'm going to say is, I think Shannon Sharp had a song about Braun, right? But I think we're going to have to start using that song for Patrick Mahomes. Goat man, yeah, that's him. Because when you line up across from that man right there, just know any and all things are possible on that football field. And the Philadelphia Eagles, you better that defense better be A1. That offense better be A1. Sirianni, you better coach the best game of your life. Y'all better have Kevin Hart, Gilly, Michael Blackson, and Meek Mill.
The whole
and
Philly
everybody
got to
else
come
from
with
Philly. You're going to need everybody. Beanie Siegel, you got to bring the whole state property out of retirement. The Young Guns, Chris and Neef, Oskino and Spark, you got to bring everybody with you because this team right here is Kryptonite. It ain't nothing you've never seen before.
Listen, they faced off 2 years ago in the Super Bowl. It was a great game that Kansas City, as they've done in all the other Super Bowls, come back and won because they were losing by 10 at the half. And typical Mahomes. And remember, that was the year that Mahomes had the bad ankle. Remember,
because he got injured in the Jaguars game.
Right. And then remember, he was on one leg. And that game against the Eagles, there's a sack right before halftime where Mahomes is slow to get up, and it looks like, oh man, he hurt the ankle again. And then Mahomes in the second half said, "This is what I do, man. This is what I do. We come back, we win games, we win Super Bowls." Kadarius Toney was on that team. Remember, Kadarius Toney had the big punt return in that game as well.
Yeah, he was on that team. Damn,
So,
they gonna need him.
yeah, they need Toney back. They need Toney back. But the Eagles, on one side, the Eagles are going to say, well, we didn't have Saquon then. But on the other side, if I'm the Chiefs, I'm going to say, listen, that was when our whole secondary, they was all rookies. These guys are better now, and as
our quarterback
a team,
had 1.5 legs.
yeah, our quarterback was on one leg. And the beauty in what we're seeing with these two teams with the week off in between is that they're going to be as healthy as possible. There's no major injuries on either side. Jalen Hurts, the knee was not a factor yesterday. There were no limitations with the knee. So, he'll be even healthier 2 weeks from now. And the same thing with the Chiefs. There are no significant injuries. You get the week to rest up. Everybody will be good to go. I don't think either one of these teams are going to be distracted in any way because, again, they were just there two years ago. Nick Sirianni. Saquon's really the only new face to the mix. I know the Eagles got a couple young guys in the secondary, but for the most part, C.J. Gardner-Johnson was there. Darius Slay was there. So a lot of those guys were already there. It's going to be a great matchup, man. I think it's going to be another instant classic between these two teams.
I do as well. I gotta say this because sometimes you Eagles fans just jump all the way out the window. I was talking to somebody today, and they was on the phone with me and really tried to argue with me that Jalen Hurts was better than Patrick Mahomes, and I almost lost my mind. I had to hang up the phone because I didn't want to. I didn't want a reason for somebody to lock me up because I was going. I don't know what I would have done in that situation because it don't make no damn sense to even have a discussion like that. Y'all gotta stop, okay? Please, it's okay. It's okay. There ain't nobody.
Tell me you're not watching the games without telling me you're not watching the games. There's no damn way. First of all, Jalen Hurts ain't even a top 5 quarterback in the league. Cut it out. Jalen Hurts is not in no conversation with Patrick Mahomes. Jalen Hurts is not in no conversation with Josh Allen. He's not in no conversation with Lamar Jackson. Cut that out.
To be honest with you, he may not be in the top 10, and if he is, he's probably around 10.
Yeah, I would say he's in the top 10 because there's a drastic drop off from the 3 guys I mentioned. And Joe Burrow's better than Jalen Hurts as well. Like let's not even.
Oh, that's not even a question.
Right. So, like I said, I just named you 4 guys off the top of my head that are better than Jalen Hurts. The real question is Jalen Hurts even better than Jaden Daniels?
No, I don't think so. That was my thing. Is if you go back to the last round of the playoffs, Jalen Hurts may have been the worst quarterback in the divisional round.
Prior to yesterday. And Jalen Hurts' 4 previous victories, dating back to 2 years, and then this year, he had never thrown over 200 yards in a game that they won. All their games that they had won, if you look back at their Super Bowl run, that was all predicated on the run game. He's got games where they won and he only threw for 130 yards, 160 yards.
When he throws, they lose.
Right. Yesterday,
even if he has a good game.
Right. Yesterday was his first solid game where they actually won. Because in the other instances, like you said, he played good in the Super Bowl, but they lost that game. But in his other instances, when he didn't get the help from the running game, they lost. They have yet to win a game where it was Jalen Hurts carried us in this moment. That's why, like we said, Saquon carried this yesterday. Saquon set the tone and made it easy for Jalen Hurts to be Jalen Hurts. But if Saquon goes out there and struggles and the Commanders are slowing down that run game, it probably looks like a different game in that third quarter.
So here's the issue, right? And this is something that could happen. If the Chiefs take an early lead and you got to play catch up, how are you going to play now? Because if, let's just say you down by 2 touchdowns, you ain't going to be running all over the place with Saquon Barkley because that's too much time. If you got to pass that football, are you going to be able to do it? Again, this is a Chiefs defense that is better than when you saw them 2 years ago. They're better than that. Okay, they've got more experience. They've got more Super Bowl experience because now this is going to be their 3rd Super Bowl. So if you are playing in a deficit, how are you going to do then if you can't use your main weapon and that's Saquon running the football? Because this is a team that now I ain't gonna say ain't nobody gonna stop Saquon Barkley. But
Right.
this defense with Chris Jones in the middle is good enough to slow him down enough to where, you know, if you ain't doing what you got to do, if you ain't making some key plays, it could get spooky for you because we know Kansas City is going to put points on the board. That's what they
Yeah.
do. You're not stopping Patrick Mahomes from putting points on the board. He's going to do that. So if you got to come from behind, how you going to do in that situation? Can you can you depend on Jalen Hurts? Is he that guy? Because you just said when he plays well, he hasn't won a playoff game.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
can we depend on him in that situation?
I guarantee you, I'll make the bold prediction now. They won't. Spagnuolo won't wait to blitz Jalen Hurts in 2 weeks. It won't be like yesterday with Josh Allen, where early in the game he didn't want to blitz him because we know Josh Allen is so effective with his legs and running around, and so he wanted Josh to throw in the coverage. He gonna blitz the hell out of Jalen Hurts early in that game. He's gonna try to force Saquon out of the game, and basically, to me, the strategy in that game is gonna be this: we're gonna play man coverage. And whichever linebacker has Saquon, if Saquon does not go out in the flats, you're blitzing. You're going to force Saquon to be a blocker. You're going to force him to stay in and block and help Jalen Hurts. Because if not, we're going to beat up on Jalen Hurts. We're going to have him running for his life, and we're going to force him to find a receiver that's open. We're not going to give him time to stand back there. We're not going to allow routes to just develop. We're going to blitz him. And in blitzing him on the way to him, we're trying to stop Saquon and trying to slow him down. And that's why I said, you're going to see moments. I promise you, there are going to be times where whatever side of the field Saquon is on, that linebacker or that safety that comes down that has Saquon responsibility, if Saquon does not go out in the flats, you're the blitzer. You're going to force Saquon to block you. We're not going to allow them to just stand back there and figure out what they want to do. And we're damn sure ain't trying to let Saquon get going early in that game.
No.
So we're going to blitz. And on the way blitzing, our priority is Saquon.
And again, this ain't Washington defense. So I don't know if you thought this ain't that defense. This ain't the Rams.
Yeah.
Now, if my main man Aaron Donald was still there, that may have been different. But he wasn't there this year. So it's a little different. That's a Jones boy right there. That's in that front four. He not playing that. Okay, so you're gonna have some problems with that defensive line. Chiefs have a good secondary. They linebacker, they're good from top, especially on defense. Yeah, defense they got them guys on defense. So this ain't gonna be no easy one for you. Before we start talking NBA, let's get the early pick in.
My early pick is very easy. It's Kansas City Chiefs until proven otherwise. Until I see something different. I think Spagnuolo's got the defense to slow this Philly running game down because again that's the priority and that's all they're going to talk about. It's going to be all hands on deck. Saquon is the priority. We're going to take our chances one-on-one with the receivers. Now they're not going to zero blitz them. They're not going to allow Philly to just get wide open receivers down the field. They'll be strategic in how they blitz them and how they cover. But I highly doubt. I would be surprised. I'll put it this way: that in that first quarter, if you see Kansas City just sit in a lot of coverage and not try to bring pressure, one, like I said, to slow down Saquon before he gets going, but also to force Jalen Hurts off his spots, to force him to be mobile. And if you're able to run for big yards, then we're just going to have to live with that. But what we're not going to allow you to do is stand back there in a clean pocket and then find guys to throw down the field to and then start setting up the play action pass and all that. No. We're blitzing. We're rushing you. We're not allowing that.
Oh, because guess what? It's Andy Reid you're playing against now. Y'all know Andy Reid. He used to coach for y'all. Now he coach for them.
Yeah.
It's different.
I mean, Spagnuolo might have already cemented his legacy as the greatest defensive coordinator of all time. There's a guy who, we know he came up with the game plan for the Giants to beat the Patriots. He's been a part of the 3 Super Bowls with Kansas City. There is not an offense he hasn't seen or game plan for. And there's a reason why in all those Super Bowls, even though they were losing, they were able to come back because their defense made plays in the second half of those games.
So basically what you're saying is this past week is going to be the last week we see Gilly out dancing in front of his car?
I think Gilly is going to have a great time out at the Super Bowl. I'm sure he's going to be down there in New Orleans. But I don't expect to hear blow the whistle after Super Bowl Sunday.
I expect to hear they not like us. and it's gonna be the Chiefs saying they not like. All right, let me go to Kyrie. Shout out to Kyrie Thompson. Jimmy Butler gets suspended again. Don't Jimmy have a rep for being an asshole? Um, it's Jimmy Butler, man. He a dog. I'm not even really mad at him. You know, he wants out. He wants to change. This is a players empowerment league right now. And he wants a different situation. He said we tried it a couple of times. I helped Miami get to a couple of finals. It wasn't enough. I want to go someplace different now. And because of that, he got the suspension. I mean, it is what it is. It's Jimmy's pockets. He the one getting fined. He'll get traded eventually, and he'll go to a team that he gonna contribute on, and we'll see how it goes.
Jimmy's a phenomenal player first and foremost, and I think what Jimmy has done in Miami has been, I mean, has far exceeded any expectations I had when he signed as a free agent. I thought, yeah, Jimmy's good and Miami be good. I didn't think he could lead them to 2 NBA finals, which he's done in his time there. But this relationship with Pat Riley really went sour last year when Jimmy got hurt. Jimmy had some issues getting right. And then when they lose in the playoffs, he's tweeting and talking about things like, oh, it would have been different if I was healthy. Oh, the teams that are advancing, y'all lucky y'all didn't have to see us and things like that. And Pat Riley kind of took exception to it because Pat Riley felt like, bro, you're not playing. So what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like, how you trash talking people from home, from the couch. And then Jimmy comes in this year. He wants a new contract. He doesn't get the new contract. Me personally, I think Jimmy's going about it the wrong way. I understand he wants the money. I understand that he's done great things for Miami while he's been there. But from a level of professionalism and being a leader of the team, this ain't the way you go about it. Because I would ask Jimmy Butler, if Bam Adebayo wanted his new contract and he acted this way, would that be fair to the team? If Tyler Hero wanted his new contract and he acted this way, would it be fair to the team? So you as the leader and you as the guy who's supposed to be helping us try to get over the hump and get back to another NBA Finals, this isn't the way you go about it. You don't miss team flights and then tell the team, oh, I'll meet you guys over there. You don't say things negative about the team and then wonder why you can't get the new contract. So I think he's handled it completely wrong in this way, Trip. Pat Riley's going to get him out of there. And at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if Pat Riley just ships him away for pennies on the dollar. I know they want the great return for Jimmy. Jimmy's still a very good player. Jimmy can help a lot of teams. But at this point, it's gotten so toxic that these are the moments that you can lose a locker room. Because if you don't put your foot down and say, all right, enough is enough, like I said, then you set the precedent for the next guy who is unhappy about his contract. If Jimmy gets his way here, and I know star players tend to get different treatment, but if Jimmy gets his way here, Pat Riley loses credibility. You can't talk to me about heat culture when Jimmy Butler pretty much was thumbing his nose at you saying, I don't want to be here and you're going to trade me wherever I want to go. They don't work that way if you Pat Riley, if you're trying to maintain heat culture.
Yeah. So let me just start by saying this. The tweet part, I didn't have a problem with that. I like that because I mean he ain't lying. It would have been different if he was playing. But I mean everybody knows that, so it's not really
right,
that big of a thing. But you are a leader on this team, though, right? So you kind of could have handled things differently. I get it because sometimes once we feel slighted, we just get on that. I don't give a F.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the mentality that we run with. I don't know because I haven't spoken to Jimmy Butler, but it seems like that's where he's at it with. With
he
it.
Was down.
Like,
hold on, Trip. Hold on.
He got injured that game. I didn't get to speak to him.
I was about to say I seen you courtside right before Christmas. You telling me you ain't speak to Jimmy while you was down in Miami?
Nah, I only spoke to Swaggy T because Jimmy had got injured the first quarter.
I'm talking Jimmy Butler, not Jim Jones. Jimmy Butler.
No, Jim Jones I seen up here. Jimmy Butler.
All right. I just making sure because
he got hurt the first quarter. I didn't get a chance to chop it up with him. I only got I got a chance to speak to Swaggy T and Kevin Love. I didn't get to chop it up with Jimmy because he had got hurt in the first quarter. He left the game, so I didn't get a chance. But
no disrespect to Jimmy Butler. Because when you say Jimmy in Miami, most people think Jim Jones. But you know what I'm saying? But right, so you ain't get to speak to Jimmy while you was down there, you said though.
Yeah, I didn't get to chop it up with him. But as a leader, you know what I'm saying? You got to show better. You got to be better. You got to do better because you're the leader. And like I think you gave the perfect example. Because if this was Bam or if this was Tyler Hero, Come on, bro. That's not the way we do things. And again, I do get it because once you feel slighted, like, oh, they didn't give me the contract. But again, see, the problem with that is we know this is a business at the end of the day.
Mhm.
Do I feel like y'all, you and Pat Riley is brothers? You and the owner that he's brothers like that? Y'all ain't boys like that. It's a
Mhm.
business. At the end of the day, we understand. This ain't the first time somebody didn't get their contract when they wanted it, and it ain't gonna be the last time they didn't get it. I mean, listen, sure, I was nervous last year when the Yankees didn't give Aaron Judge his contract when they were
Mhm.
supposed to give him his contract, but eventually it got done. Now the problem is, and again, because when we got to go back and be clear that this is a business, this is not 28-year-old Jimmy Butler.
Right.
This is not 30-year-old Jimmy. This is not the Jimmy Butler that got us to the finals 2 years ago.
Mhm.
And the contract is going to be for even older Jimmy Butler. Now, I don't know how fast your skills may deplete and your physical abilities may deplete after this season. But I do know everybody ain't LeBron James and everybody ain't aging like that. So I have to take into consideration, shoot, guess what? Dwayne Wade was off that team. And that's Wade County out there.
Mhm.
So if Dwayne Wade wound up leaving and going someplace else, what you think gonna happen to you? The only person that been there this whole time is Haslam, but he don't cost that much. So you can keep Haslam on the roster, you know what I'm saying? No disrespect to
They
Haslam.
don't even count his contract. Don't even count on the roster. For years, they was putting him with the coaching staff. That was the coaching staff budget. Put Haslam Jurt over there with the coaching staff budget right there. We set aside $6 million. We set aside $6 million for him over there, and that's he part of the staff budget.
That's what I'm saying. So you know what I mean? Like, come on, man. You gotta also factor those things into the equation. I get it, Jimmy. I understand what you did for the team, but you got to understand that this is a what have you done for me lately league. And lately, you are just rental employee. You're making them tweaks, even though I personally don't have a problem with that. The organization might have a problem with that. And you're getting older. Okay, you're not a spring chicken anymore, Jimmy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know at this point in Jimmy's career if he can win a championship as the number one option.
No, we know he can't. He's been to 2 NBA finals as the number one option. They didn't come
And
close
has
to winning
won, right?
Yeah, they didn't come close to winning those. So you can't win with him as your number one. Also, to put it into context with people, Jimmy Butler's 35 years old. Jimmy Butler has a contract for next year because he has a player option, which he's probably going to opt into. So he's looking for a new deal for his age, 37, 38, 39. And as you mentioned, the LeBron reference is so relevant here because most guys don't get a new contract at 37 or 38 years old, right? And Jimmy has already had some injuries as is. So we're not talking about a Jimmy Butler who's playing 75 games a year and is still at an elite level. Jimmy Butler is on the tail end of his career, still a solid player, still a very good player. And under the right circumstances, he might be a guy that could be very good for you as your number 2 or number 3 option on a team that's competing for a championship. But we know for a fact that as your number 1, you can't win a championship with him. It's already been proven. Number 2, at 36 years old, no team is going to want to invest $150 million over 3 years for you because he ain't looking for no discounted contract. No. He's looking to make close to $50 million a year.
Yeah.
So if you're the Miami Heat, right? If you're the Miami Heat, if you're any team, that's going to be the question for any team. I'm sure there are some teams that are looking at Jimmy Butler and say, man, we would love to trade for him and have him here for the next year or two to see if he could help us win. But beyond the next year or two, do you want Jimmy Butler on your team at 37 years old making $50 million a year? He's already not a super athletic player. We're not talking about a guy who's jumping out the gym. We're talking about a guy who's a mid-range assassin who plays at a certain pace, who plays with a certain style. Nobody wants that. His player option for next year, I think, is almost $56 million, Trip.
You better opt in on that.
Which is a tough, again, that's a tough cap number for a guy. Again, and this is not to disrespect Jimmy Butler because I think he's been a phenomenal player throughout his career. But we got to talk about the facts as to where he is today. Today, Trip, I think we could make the legitimate argument Jimmy Butler's probably not even a top 15 player right now in the league.
Yeah. So
So
Jamal,
you
go
telling
back
me
to 20.
right? So you telling me I gotta pay $50 million a year for a guy who I know can't be the number one option on the championship team and who is in his late 30s. He may only have 1 or 2 more years at elite playing level, but yeah, he's looking for a contract that's probably going to take him to 39 or 40 years old. I'm good.
Yeah, because now then it comes down to, and again, this is the business where we made it to 2 NBA finals, but we lost, right? So obviously we're missing something to get us over the hump. If I'm paying you at that age 50 plus million a year, how do I fill out the rest of this roster to bring over the guys that we need? I can't do it. There's just not enough cap space. So what do you expect in that situation? They're not doing that. So you lucky, you know what I'm saying? Listen, I would love to make $56 million next year. Okay. You're gonna make that, enjoy that. You'll get a contract. It's not gonna be no 50 million a year. It's not gonna be that. And again, Eric, you and I have always been for the players getting to the bag. But
Absolutely.
we also have to be realistic in the pursuit of that bag. Your value is low. Okay, you're not gonna get that. You're not gonna get the contract you want. Don't be like Isaiah Thomas when he told to pull that Brinks truck out, and then we didn't see that was it. And the Brinks truck came out, drove right past him, and went on to everybody
Mhm.
else. Don't be that guy. Okay, like
Yeah,
and again, much respect to Jimmy Butler. Eric, you know Miami is my second home. I got a Heat hat hanging right there from when we was at the last game. Okay, Swaggy T is my guy. But we got to call a spade, man. Like, this is what it is. You're older. You're not the same Jimmy Butler.
mhm.
And again, we're talking about years 37, 38, and 39.
Yeah.
Chris Paul is making 10 million right now.
Mhm.
No disrespect again, Jimmy Butler, but you know what I'm saying? Do you really think somebody's paying you 50 million a year at 39?
No.
Listen,
No, Jimmy's gonna opt in next year. Like he already knows that. That's why I think
yeah,
Miami's taking a stance they taking as well, because Miami's like, all right, you want the new contract. So are you opting out of next year and then we're gonna give you a fresh contract, maybe in the range of 35 million. If you want to do 35 million per over the
yeah.
next 3 years, okay, that's reasonable because like you said, then we can still fill out the rest of the roster and we'll have some space. But if you're telling me you're gonna opt in to that 50 plus million next year and then want 3 years added on top of that. Come on, Jimmy.
Nah,
How are we building a roster that's competitive? When you look at the rest of the
we
East,
can't.
the Celtics are the best team in the East. They're not going nowhere. The Cavs are thriving right now. The Cavs ain't going nowhere. All the Cavs stars is under 30. So the Cavs
Yeah.
is going to be in the mix for the next 5-6 years. The Knicks are going to be in the mix for the next 5-6 years. You know what I'm saying? We got a lot of good young teams. The Hawks is becoming a really good team now. The Orlando Magic got 2 young stars over there. They becoming a good team. Oh, by the way, Giannis ain't going nowhere.
Nope.
So even as Dame gets older, Giannis is still going to be the guy in Milwaukee, and they'll find a way to get somebody else there with him. So how are we filling out this roster around you at $50 plus million a year? Again, they have peaked with Jimmy Butler. They went to 2 NBA finals in 4 years. It was a great accomplishment. They were an underdog both times they got there because nobody saw them going on that type of run just to get to the finals. They peaked, and it was great. But we cannot pay you for past services. We can't sit here and say, oh, well, because you did great things for us in the past, let's now commit.
Not at the age you are now.
Right. Let's not commit to a guy in his mid-30s and pay him $50 million a year. Like, what kind of front office would that even be if they committed to you in that way?
The one that's in the unemployment line. That's what kind of front office would be. One that's in the
Right.
unemployment line. I'm gonna give you 2 names right now, right? Steph Curry and LeBron James, right? They're making about 50 plus a year at the ages that they're at, right? When you look at both of those guys, they're both top 10 players right now. That's it.
I mean, but they're the outliers. I don't think it's fair to compare anybody to Braun and Steph.
I'm just saying because of the age that you're at.
Right. Right.
You got to be at that level of play for somebody to give you a contract like that at that age.
Yeah,
I
just
not
think
going to happen.
They're outliers though, because obviously their performance at that age is never been really seen in the NBA before, and also their contributions to those organizations. I mean, Steph is the Warriors. There is, when you talk Golden State Warrior organization franchise. You're talking about Steph Curry, right? LeBron brought a title back to LA. LeBron made the Lakers relevant again after they went through a tough patch when Kobe was older and then left. And RIP to Kobe, because yesterday was the anniversary, the unfortunate anniversary of the passing of him and Gigi. But those guys, what they have done for their organizations is different. You can't compare them because it's similar to like, remember when Kobe was towards the end and they gave Kobe a massive contract for like the last 3 years of his career, right?
They wasn't going to. I didn't think they was going to do that for Jimmy.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Had you won,
but even still, even if you had won, I don't know if you do it because he's not a lifelong Heat player. When Kobe got it, that was almost like a recognition of like, listen, you stuck with us through the good times and the bad times, Kobe. You put on for us after we traded Shaq, and you still kept us relevant and then help us get back to some championships. So our reward to you is at the end of this, we know we're not a championship. Right, we're not a championship team, but we're going to reward you. Same thing with Steph Curry. We know the Warriors are no longer what they once were, but the Warriors are going to keep giving him the bag as long as he's willing to play because everything you did for us in the past. Jimmy doesn't have that connection to Miami. He hasn't done enough for Miami to even think, oh, I should be rewarded in that way. Nah, you were good for when you were here. You did some great things. Again, you elevated us to a point that we didn't think we could get to with you as our best player. But that does not mean that now we got to commit $150 million to you when you're 37, 38, 39 years old. That's just crazy.
I'm not doing that. Yeah. And Tyson, you're right. Jimmy's game
1,000% right.
Again, that's just with age. Okay. We know what's gonna happen. As you get older, it's not just obviously it's not gonna be the same Jimmy Butler. Yeah. Didn't the Bulls give Michael Jordan $30 million a year his last two? That's Michael Jordan.
Well, also, yeah, I mean that's a crazy. That's even crazy. If correct me if I'm wrong, Trip. I think in Mike's last 2 years they won championship 5 and number 6 in his last 2 years with the Bulls.
Yeah, so I'd say it was worth it. Plus,
I mean,
it ain't like you paid Michael Jordan $50 million a year the 5-6 years before.
Well, yeah, and again, that goes back into my logic of this is why you pay Steph, this is why you pay Bron, this Kobe, because up until that point, Mike had won 4 championships in 6 years. The Chicago Bulls are Michael Jordan. So even Jerry Reinsdorf and those guys understood, like, hey, we're paying him. Right. Come on, Hoopballer Scoop. Shout out to Hoopballer Scoop. Come on, baby. Like think what we talk about. We're talking about, you paid Mike because of not only what Mike had done, but they were still on the cusp of championships because they ended up winning 2 more.
They had Rodman at that point. They had Kukoc. They had a squad still.
They had and remember,
you're not about to lose Mike.
And they had the second greatest player of all time, Scottie Pippen.
Oh shoot!
The second greatest player of all time, according to Scotty.
So you gotta give MJ his. That's crazy to come off a championship year and you don't give your guy the bag. It's crazy.
The best player in the world. He can't get you. Imagine you try to nickel and dime Mike at the end.
Oh my goodness, that would have got so ugly for them. Chicago would have hated the Bulls if they disrespected Mike in that way.
Mike, I know we won 4 championships in 6 years with you. Yes, Hoopballer Scoop. Shout out to Hoopballer Scoop. I don't know if you got to go back. We went live yesterday as a pregame before the conference championship games. We said the same thing. Scottie Pippen is out his damn mind.
He's smoking that good stuff.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna put that on a t-shirt. Put the stats aside. Because that's gonna be my new line for everything. Put the stats aside, like we're just completely ignoring the resume now because Scottie Pippen doesn't think that we should talk about the resume. Put the stats aside.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. Hold on, let me see something. Okay, here we go. Yes, Tyson, the NBA starters were announced. Thoughts? How many players should the Rockets and Thunder get? Hang on, let me just. Yeah, you're right. I'm gonna go back to that one. Pippen does change his thoughts every interview. Starters, I love it. I probably voted maybe 15 times. Eric, you will be happy to know that every time I voted for Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, who ultimately did become starters. So you'll be happy to know.
Shout out to a great friend of the show, Combos Court. He had put up a post talking about Kay Cunningham and should Kay Cunningham have gotten a start over Jalen Brunson. in my opinion, I think Kate Cunningham is a better all-around player. And I do love Kate Cunningham's game. I think Kate Cunningham is a few years away from being on the level that Shea Gilgeous is right now. But this is a fan vote, as Trip just mentioned, right? You voted 15 times. Your nephew's probably voted a bunch of times. I know my nephew's voted. So when you play in a bigger market on a team that's having success, the Knicks right now coming into tonight, I believe they got the 5th best record in the NBA. There's been a lot of hype around Brunson in town, so they're going to get a lot of the votes. And I think I'm never upset with the starters because I understand that's the fans' perspective, and it's always going to be a popularity contest in terms of the teams that are on TV, the teams that are winning, and who the fans are seeing the most. So I'm okay with that. I get more concerned when we get the snubs off the bench because there's always guys that are very well deserving of an opportunity, and that comes back down to players and coaches. And those are supposed to be the people that are in the know more than we are. So I'll be more worried about seeing who the bench guys are. And in terms of the second part of this, the Rockets are tough because Jalen Green might be their best all-around player, but Fred VanVleet might be the actual leader of this team. He might be the most important guy. Şengün has played very well for them as well. The Rockets may only get one guy. The Thunder should get 2. The Thunder obviously should get Shea, but they should also get Jalen Williams, who I think has been phenomenal.
If Chet doesn't get hurt, it would probably be Shea and Chet. They do you got to give them 2 players. I mean, they're in first place. They got the best record in basketball right now. You got to give them 2 players. The only thing is, my only question is, how do you pick that second guy, really? Because I mean, everybody's contributing, everybody's playing well in order for them to get like that. And then obviously, excuse me, you have Shea, who's their best playing MVP candidate. So I can't say who the second starter should be. Or excuse me, second player should be. But in regards to the starters, though, I'll be honest with you. I think the fans got it right. I think this is who should have been starting in the game. Maybe they may be a little bit in the Western Conference with the Steph over Luka, but Luka was hurt, so I can understand how that would work out. But other than that, Jokic was going to be a starter if it was the coaches that voted or the fans that voted. Jokic would have been a starter.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with LeBron. He would have been a starter. Shea would have been a starter. You know what I mean? Towns and Brunson they do deserve to be starters on the All-Star team. Same thing with Jason Tatum. I mean, obviously Giannis, everything without a doubt. You know what I mean? So for the most part, this was one of those years where it was like, yeah, everybody that the fans voted for should be starting in the All-Star game.
Yeah, like I said, I'm okay with it.
Let me ask you this. Does anyone else from Cleveland make the All-Star team? They are in first place. You probably should have a second guy up there, but I think it's spread so evenly across the board with everybody that's left. How do you make that decision?
They probably should have one more representative there. Again, second best overall record. But again, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to get a second guy. Shout out to Will Gordon. Will, you cold-blooded, bro. I seen that post. I was walking out of work today. Trip, I'm a screenshot it to you if you haven't seen it. Shout out for the love of the game. I was walking out of work. I seen that interaction you had on the group chat today. You cold-blooded.
Shout out to my guy Will Gordon, man. But yeah, man. But yeah. So if who do you think should be that guy for Cleveland?
Wow.
Do you go Mobley? Do you go Allen? Do you go Garland? Because I'm saying I think it's pretty even across the board. So
yeah, you could make a case for any. You could make a case for Mobley or Garland.
Tough, right? Like I don't know.
Yeah, if I had to pick, I would probably say Garland. I think Garland has been very good as their point this year. But I mean, does Garland get the selection over Trae Young?
Because he is another guard. That's the thing.
Yeah, and that's where it gets tricky.
Okay, you know what? They have Jaylen Brown. They have him as a front court player. So So there's another spot. But then you got to look at Dame. The Bucks are playing really well right now.
I mean, I think Cade is more deserving than Garland.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. So how do you
Yeah.
make that decision? But
So
Cleveland is in first place,
yeah,
and it's like, all right,
if you
for
want to
them to
go,
be in first place,
who's going to be the front court guys? Because it's going to be Giannis, it's going to be Towns, Tatum.
right? But then you got to go Jaylen Brown. He got to
So Jalen, right? I think
the team.
Jalen, Paolo missed too much time, so Paolo won't get in.
Yeah. Who
That's
else is
probably the
there?
move. You probably go Mobley as their second guy because I think it's easier to get Mobley in than Garland because there are other guards I think that are more deserving than Garland. Like I said, I would put
You
Cade
still
and I
got
would put Trae Young.
LaMelo,
Yeah, Melo
who's
too.
playing very well. We haven't spoken about him.
You got Maxey. You got at least 3 or 4 guys I think that would be ahead of Garland in terms of the guard spot.
Yeah. So yeah, okay, yeah, we'll say Mobley. Let the big man get it, young fella. So Boston now, right? Okay, we know Tatum is locked in. We pretty much say Jaylen Brown is going to be a lock too. Does Boston get a third player?
I don't think so. I think 2 is probably going to be the max because, like we said, in the East, you got a lot of teams that have multiple guys that are deserving.
Yeah.
So, like I said, if we're saying the Knicks getting 2 guys in, we're saying Cleveland's getting 2 guys in, and we're saying Boston, that already puts us at 6. Like I said, I think Cade got to get in. I think Trae Young should get in. Obviously, Giannis will be the Milwaukee guy. So now that already puts us at 9. It might be tough to get that next Boston guy in. But, I mean,
so does a third, should Boston get a third or should Milwaukee get a second and Dame be on that roster?
I would probably lean more towards Dame.
Because I mean, because they already gonna have 2 now, right? So I figure you got to give Dame because Milwaukee is playing very well right now.
Yeah, Dame's at 25-7. I think Dame probably Dame gets in.
All right. Let's get to Imani's question and we're gonna get ready to get up out of here. Shout out to Imani, man. She's been riding with us for a long time now.
That's a fact.
He says, "What up, guys? Seeing you're on. What's your all thoughts on the WNBA players having like a 3-on-3 or 4-on-4 league? I'm sure it keeps the ladies in shape, but this league, will this league get big? I don't know. I do think it is good for basketball, for the players themselves to kind of stay in shape and not have to go overseas during the off season of the WNBA. So from that standpoint, it's good. Any publicity that the ladies can get is good. The only problem is I haven't caught a game on TV. I haven't really seen the promo for the games. So that's would be my only issue with it is I haven't seen. I've seen the highlights, I've seen social media posts, but I haven't actually seen a commercial saying that it's going to be on this platform at this time. So they're going to have to work on that if this league is going to grow. But you got the stars in the league though. You definitely have that. But again, promo. Gotta have promo.
That's been the biggest issue with the WNBA for quite some time. We've said it before as well. I like the idea of the league. I like it as a way to kind of boost viewership leading into the season if they do make it an ultimate 3-on-3 league. The problem is, as you mentioned, is there enough money to keep the women here stateside as opposed to going overseas? Because they're getting big money playing overseas. And, you know,
a lot of places don't got taxes over there either.
Right. And remember, there's a big discrepancy in what these women are making. When you're talking about like the top tier names of the league in comparison to everyone else, you know, those other women that quote unquote everyone else, they have to go overseas. That's where they really make up that difference. And that's where they make that money back at. So to keep them stateside just for the sake of a 3-on-3 or 4-on-4 league, there's got to be big money going into it to make it worth it. Because a lot of these women can go to Turkey.
When they spoke about it, we did speak about the league briefly a couple of months back, and supposedly the salaries were lucrative.
Okay.
So they've got some sponsorship dollars coming in from somewhere, but that ain't gonna last if people can't see.
Yeah, people not tuning in. Yeah, people not tuning in is not gonna matter. That's what they need. They need people tuned in, and I would like to see what the structure of it is. Like I said, I would be intrigued by it, especially if it's a 3-on-3, because I do think there is a gap in the basketball space for more 3-on-3 basketball. So if they could find a way to do it that way, Right. That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying in terms of like the professional, like where we see it consistently, not every 4 years,
Yeah,
there is a gap for it that, you know, it can
Absolutely.
be pushed the right way. So if they promote it the right way, yeah, it has a chance. But again, there's got to be money pumped in, because if you're one of those mid-tier players, I'm not staying stateside just for the sake of saying, oh, you know, yeah, they tossed me a little check when I can go over and probably double my WNBA salary overseas.
Will says the lady should have taken Cubes off of the play in the big three. Big pay and probably would have led to a unisex product full time. First of all, Cube was only offering that to Caitlin
Yeah.
Clark.
Yeah,
He
he
wasn't just
wasn't
offering
offering
it
it
to
to other, yeah.
every other woman. And two, you don't want that to happen. Because again, a lot of these guys are fresh out of their NBA careers. Some of these guys are younger guys that have had NBA experience, and you don't want to diminish the women's basketball
Yeah.
brand because they go play in the big three with a bunch of respectfully retired guys and guys that aren't in the league anymore, and you still get, you know what I'm saying, and it wouldn't look good. You know what I'm saying? We're in the best case scenario, yeah, one or two of them can, but I just can't see someone from the WNBA who's under 5'11" making any type of legitimate impact. Really, you might as well just say under 6'2". Really, I can't see them making any type of legitimate impact in a league of former NBA players and guys that I just don't see that happening. So the best thing for them is to continue to do their own thing and work on growing the product that way.
Yeah. Like you said, Cube didn't offer it to all the ladies. It was specifically Caitlin Clark. And I know, to me, I wouldn't want to see that, because as you mentioned, now I don't want to make a circus out of it, and I don't want to diminish the women's game and their value to the sport by putting them up against people who are going to be looking to embarrass them. Let's call it what it is, because
Yeah.
somebody going to look at it as like this food right here. And you know what I'm saying? I'm going to go off, and
Of
now,
course,
right
because it's
now,
going to be
we
viral. It's going to be a moment.
right. It's,
I'm
you know,
going.
we got
I'm
a
going
viral,
to dog. I'm
right.
I'm coming in this game with it'll be like, how the Saints had the bounty gate. It's going to be like
Right.
that.
Right.
I'm going to make an example.
We're gonna get a viral clip of them putting one of the women in a pick and roll trying to get a lob at the rim on her head, and you know what I'm saying, stuff like that. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't want that. But like I said, in terms of their 3-on-3 league, I would support it. I would watch. But they got to put the product, and they got to package the product the right way to get the right viewership.
Yeah. Exactly. Shout out to Kelsey Plum. She got traded to the
Yeah.
Sparks. So that's that. That's the power of the New York Liberty. So she was like, "Nah, I can't even be over there no more." But we got our boot smoked in the WNBA finals. My bad. Sorry, it's the New York in me. Had to say it. Eric, give us a final thought.
Hey, as always, man, we greatly appreciate the supporters. Keep rocking with us, keep locking in with us. Obviously, we got a lot of content coming up, and Trip and I are working on some things as we transition away from this NFL season into the second half of this NBA season. What else we got, Trip? Man, everybody just be safe out there. And I'm looking forward to continue to rock with you guys. Like I said, the supporters, the viewers, we greatly appreciate what y'all do locking in with us every week.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm just gonna say once again, rest in peace to the late great Kobe Bean Bryant. And man, just keep rocking with us, man. We're gonna keep working. We're gonna keep doing what we're doing. Make sure you guys are following us on all our social media: Instagram, Twitter at Real Fan Talk, Facebook.com/Real Fans Real Talk, and of course, subscribe to that YouTube channel, YouTube.com/For the Fans Productions. Oh, if you're not in New York City on Thursday nights and you can't watch us from 8 to 9 p.m. on Verizon 43, do not worry. You can watch from anywhere in the world. Just go to that website, realfansrealtalk.com. Click the red button on the homepage. Watch us from anywhere in the world. And make sure you subscribe to the two best podcasts moving. And that's the Sanchez Show and the Real Fans Real Talk podcast. New content dropping every week. With that being said, for myself, Trip Young, my brother, my co-host, Legend in Two Games, a.k.a. Eric Sanchez. Or should I say Eric Sanchez, a.k.a. Legend in Two Games.
I know what you meant.
We up out of here. Peace. It's been a long day. I'm sorry.
This is Deion Grant from the New York Giants, Super Bowl champ, and you're watching Real Fans, Real Talk.
Live from the can. Vibe you can.
This is Real Fans, Real Talk. Real fans, real talk. We as real as you thought. Real